after a 6-alarm fire sent 100 firefighters from southern New England rushing here to help. Now, the night of August 24th, police responded to this Ethan Street apartment behind me where they found that victim. Cranston police now crediting the work from Providence detectives for their quick response and teamwork. It was just the 4th day of the new school year, and dozens of parents rushed here immediately after getting those text alerts. That police chase starting in Rehoboth, Massachusetts, and ending here in East Providence.
I mean, that is a good few inches. I'll take out my handy dandy tape measure. My dad will be happy I'm putting some tools he gave me to use. Let's see. Saturday night, just before midnight, shots rang out in the Silver Lake section of the city. Providence police officers responding to Wallace Street, finding a 15-year-old boy shot. He was pronounced dead at the scene.
He didn't deserve what he went through.
Marisol Tilson tells ABC 6 News her son was the victim in Saturday's violence. 15-year-old Javante Tilson played basketball, made music, was a big brother, and had a baby of his own on the way.
He had a baby come in. 15-year-olds shouldn't be gunned down in these streets.
Heartbroken friends, family, and neighbors mourning at the site of the shooting, releasing balloons and lighting candles in honor of Javante.
To know that my son was running from house to house, begging for help, and people just watched him out the window and watched him die. That's heart-wrenching because as a mother, I would never watch someone's kid run in fear like that and then get killed.
Tilson saying anyone who knew her son loved him. Dozens coming out to support the family at Sunday night's vigil.
He was a 15-year-old kid that should still be here. There's no other way to put it.
Now, Tilson is demanding justice, hoping police catch the person responsible for the disturbing violence.
And I hope and pray that the detectives and the police do what they're supposed to do and they find who did this to my son. It can't go unjustified. It can't.
I'll be with 243 if anybody needs me.
Responding to robberies, homicides, and accidents are common for police officers, but with an overwhelming number of calls for crisis intervention and victims of trauma, local law enforcement recognize mental health calls may not be in their wheelhouse. The Providence Police Department combating that by adding clinicians to their squad nearly 2 decades ago.
They have access to resources that police officers do not.
Meet Rachel Armada. She's a clinical social worker with the Providence Center.
I will go to the calls there, regularly dispatched to, but that officer will also take me to calls throughout the city whenever somebody is in a mental health crisis and police are asked to respond.
It's so effective and so needed.
Providence Police Commander Thomas Verdi highlighting the dangers of responding to these calls that can turn lethal in just moments. The deputy chief told me about a recent incident where a clinician responded to a call with officers.
A friend called regarding his friend's bizarre behavior, right? He calls, adult male, suicidal, has recently purchased a firearm.
Police officers paired with a Providence Center clinician rushed to the scene, working together to calm the man down.
The clinician, along with our police officers, said all the right things. He agreed to, there was no surrender because it ended up not being a firearm. And then that individual was committed. He volunteered to seek treatment.
Armada says productive conversations often come out of responding to these calls with officers. It gives the clinician and the officer a chance to discuss what happened and how to approach similar calls in the future.
We can kind of discuss what that looked like, why things were the way they were in terms of mental health.
Rachel Caruso, a GO team member with Family Services, works with victims of trauma, oftentimes at the scene with police just moments after a tragedy.
This GO team model is just, it really follows these victims through their entire process, and that's what makes it so incredibly different.
Those calls mainly consist of domestics, sexual assaults, child molestation and sex trafficking cases, and also drug busts, especially when children are present.
We get those kids out of the house so they don't have to see that kind of traumatic event.
And their work doesn't stop at the crime scene. These clinicians follow up and continue to support victims and mental health patients weeks and even months after.
I think there's a lot of power in just having somebody in your corner. So that's what we're trying to be with these kids and these victims.